Well, it came down to player execution. It came down to a few play calls, but really it came down to field goals and not getting in the end zone when they needed to the most. I hate to put blame or to shoulder all of the energy from today on one player, but it felt like Nebraska's QB play was the difference. It felt like Nebraska's QB play was what held them back from winning this game. I don't know how much of it you blame or the downfield passing game, at least you blame Dana or you blame Satterfield for, right? Like, is it this last few months they haven't been able to develop their receivers and get them into position where they can get open downfield? So it's the coach's fault for not getting them prepared. Was it Dana not taking shots downfield, or was it Raiola not hitting them when he had opportunities? Was it the tough ones where a perfect example is Dylan had a guy in a one-on-one spot with a corner underneath and he just forced a throw that he shouldn't have? It's frustrating to watch because the offense that's obviously years behind where you'd hope they'd be with a five-star quarterback and as much talent as they were able to bring in from the transfer portal, they're what held them back today. The defense didn't do them any favors. It was a complete effort by the entire team for sure when you talk about the way and the reason that they lost. I think they gave up, 400 yards of offense, 259 passing for Jaden Maiava, 182 yards rushing between Maiava, Marks, and Joyner. I mean, you just can't win games when you give up that many yards. And it came down to Nebraska not scoring touchdowns. That's really what it is. That was the moment I knew Nebraska cannot go out and win this game. Where I really knew it was at the end. People complained about the ref not calling the holding. And I've said it's really hard for me to say a game either goes one way or the other because of a ref, right? So I'm not going to blame the game on the ref not calling the holding on Banks at the end. However, moments like that, it feels like a kick in the balls. It's like, man, they got down the field, they hit Jalen Lloyd, and then the freaking false start. I totally forgot about the false start. Player execution. I said that a minute ago. When players can't execute in crunch moments, things don't go your way. Taking you from a whatever in 13 to a whatever in 19, that's a big difference, especially when you've got receivers who can hopefully get back there in. I mean, was it one-on-one? I guess it was really two-on-one coverage. They dropped their 5 DBs right along the goal line. And it was going to be hard to convert that no matter what. But the moment they got the false start, that just really sealed their fate. It was like, okay, Nebraska's losing ways have now crept back in. And even in a crunch moment when they had just driven the ball down into position, can't catch a break. Oh, man. It was tough to watch. And it was tough to be there when it felt like it was a little bit of a Nebraska home game. It felt like there was a lot of momentum early on. And although USC, it's a great environment. It's so fun to be in that stadium. The USC fans are cool. And although they did have good energy and all that, I'm telling you, the Nebraska faithful showed out strong. They were loud. And although it wasn't enough to put serious pressure on USC to the point where it felt like USC was an away team in their own stadium and they would make mistakes, it's still, I think, it's reassuring for Nebraska's team to have that many people there supporting them and having them get that loud. So it just felt like everything was going their way to start. Felt like they were matching USC. I mean, they scored first and then SC bounced back. Nebraska, obviously, before the half, got on the board again. You had 14-14. And if they could have just kept up with the scoring or just not slipped up on defense. There was one play I wanted to point out, man. This was kind of a defining moment and a turning point, I would say, in the game. So there's this play right through his hands. Who is that? Is that Hartzog? I think it's Hartzog. Going to Kyron Hudson. And it would have been a really tough play to make, okay? So the fact that he was even in position to make it was huge. I mean, he's got hops. But plays like that is the difference between winning and losing. Plays on defense like earlier on in the game when Tommy Hill, this one to Deuce Robinson. Maiava's getting pressured. It must have been MJ Sherman. It's hard for me to tell, I don't remember. But it must have been MJ Sherman pressuring, right? Gets Maiava out to the sideline, and Maiava just hucks it up, hoping for the best. Tommy Hill underneath, but too far. 2, 3, 4 steps maybe. And it went right over his head into Deuce Robinson's hands. The very next play, I think they scored a touchdown. It's little things like that. And the USC guy sitting next to me, he was like, man, Nebraska's going to win today. He said that early on. He said USC can't get out of their own way. And I was like, you don't understand who you're talking to. You're talking to a guy who's watched his team for years act like what USC is acting like this season. I know USC's had a down bad season. I know they suck and that you think they're going to lose every single game. I totally get it, but they're playing the one team in the country who they could actually beat. If they were playing Wisconsin, if they were playing Iowa, if they were playing Washington, which they've already played a couple of those teams and escaped one of those two. If they're playing one of those, you're right. USC would probably find a way to lose it today. But no, they're playing Nebraska. They're playing a Nebraska defense who, ooh, how about the one with, who was it? Was it Makai Lemon, number 6, where Maiyava's in the 3rd and 6. And he's running around in the backfield trying to do his best Caleb Williams. And he fires one over the middle to, I think it was Makai Lemon. Ball gets tipped, I believe, then bobbled, then caught, first down. Just like all of the things that could have gone Nebraska's way. I mean, it's a game of inches, right? Could have gone Nebraska's way, didn't. And then on offense, there were moments and there were times where guys shined, like individual performers. Emmett Johnson. Everyone said, we want more Emmett Johnson. We see a lot in him. Okay, well, today he did his deal. He went out there. He had a great receiving day. I think he had 35 yards receiving and another like 40-something rushing. Good day for him, but it still wasn't enough because the passing game never got going. It's really the downfield passing game that frustrates me because you have this 5-star quarterback, generational arm, all the talk, right? You have this guy who's supposed to be a threat beyond 10 yards. And he's only a threat in the screen game, or he's a threat underneath for 5 yards, and it never got developed downfield. What has to change? And the problem is, I'm talking about today. I'm talking about for this season for bowl eligibility. They've got 2 games where this was the easiest game. I'm telling you right now, a lot of people were like, oh, USC's good and Nebraska won't beat USC, whatever. Okay, I get it. But this was the easiest of the 3. Wisconsin's going to be a tougher matchup. USC matched up so well with Nebraska today. It was so good. Or Nebraska matched up well with them. It was such a prime opportunity. So what do you have to change to go out and win a game, to beat Wisconsin or an Iowa? They have to be able to throw it downfield, and we have seen 0 signs of progress. Dana Holgorsen did a better job calling plays today. You felt more confident with the offense. It felt like there were times when they were driving down and the run game looked good. And it wasn't just getting stuffed like it has been in these past few weeks because there was a good change of pace throughout the game. Anyway, I don't know what the solution is. And this is where I'm the most stressed out, right? Because all I want is a bowl game. I want progress. I don't want to see another 5-7 season, which is below the floor that I thought they had. I thought this team's floor was 6 wins. Okay. What do they have to do to get better? You have to be able to throw it downfield. That's it. The defense, they're going to have games like this. They were so close to 2 more turnovers. I mean, inches away. They played a Lincoln Riley offense. There are going to be days where you give up 400 yards. I get that. The offense has to do their part. The offense only scored 13 points today, right? 10-3. Yeah, they scored 13 points today because the other one was on a pick 6. Wait, was it pick 6? I can't even remember now. I think it was a pick 6. Yeah, Sierra Wright pick 6. Anyway, I'm gonna respond to a couple super chats. Shelby, thank you for the $5 super chat. He says, pray for my next 2 bets. 6 of 8 need this $2,000. I'm praying for you, brother. I wish you the best. I know you sent that to me. Let me link my super chat link. Sorry, guys, one sec. So I can pop these up and you can see them on my screen. Bam. Okay, another one from Shelby. Wait, why? There we go. Thank you for the 5. He says, thanks for the half over for Raiola on the second to last play, Connor. Won me $100. Me too. I won a lot in Nebraska today. Would have won more if it was money line, is what it is. But yeah, we had a good day betting. The problem is I wanted to win. And although Nebraska covered, and normally I feel really good about them covering, and I feel good about winning money, I don't care about the money today. I wanted that win. It felt like they had it. It felt like at halftime that was going Nebraska's way. Max, thanks for being a member for 14 months. Rule needs to ditch the washed Frost era players. They're not all washed, man. They're not all washed. There's one guy today who Thomas Fidone today had a catch. Borkacher had a catch. Lindenmeyer had a catch. And before this game, I thought, who's kind of an X factor who could come in? I thought maybe it's Fidone, tight end. We thought before the season that's going to be a threat for Nebraska. It's going to be someone that Raiola can look to, who he can count on, a guy who's a bigger body, who can make plays and, get some yards after the catch. Didn't see him show up all year. Don't know why. Don't know if it was a him issue. Don't know if it was a coaching issue. Didn't matter. He comes out of nowhere against Ohio State, is explosive. And I thought, finally, they're going to incorporate him. Then today, 3 tight end passes. Were there any more than that? Let me check right here. Lindemeyer, one catch. Fedoni had two catches for 9, which one went for nothing because I think it was a screen. And then Borkacher had one for 9. So you had 3 tight end passes. And I just felt like they were going to do more with that. So it does feel like, and you talk about Frost players being washed. They're not all washed. But there are issues. And it's more so to do with scheme and more so to do with what's happened over this last offseason. And I think that the improvement that we had hoped to see in the offense, we're never going to get it. It's going to take a new, fresh start. And the hard part about saying that is, well, Connor, what about this year? What about Wisconsin? What about Iowa? We've got 2 games left. You can't throw the towel in yet. Listen, I'm not throwing the towel in, but the reality is there anything? There is nothing. I'm not even going to say pose a question. I don't believe there is enough to work with in this playbook and enough that they've done, the players understand, to go out and win 2 games, at least score enough on offense. Their defense, I think, is going to be fine. USC is the best offense they faced in these past 3 games, right? So their defense, I think, can hold teams to 21 points. But what's the offense going to do? And when your playmaker, and I call him a playmaker hesitantly because I don't want him to be a playmaker, Dylan Raiola, I want him to be a distributor. That's what he's meant to be. When your playmaker can't make plays, what do you expect? I mean, Dylan is being asked to do a lot. Dylan, in high pressure scenarios like today, he was okay at best. Okay, he was decent. So, is there a solution? You tell me. I see, I hear, and I know there are going to be a ton of complaints. I just wish I had the answers. It's frustrating. All of it's frustrating because it feels like, they're so close but so far away at the exact same time. Do you think Dylan Raiola will become Dylan Biola, or do you think he hangs on to have... No, he's not leaving. I don't think Dylan's going anywhere. I think Dylan's here for another year. Daniel, thank you for the $5 super chat. Be there next week. Hope we win and might rush that field. Anyways, go Big Red. The path to victory against a team like Wisconsin is to score on offense. Last year's offense couldn't score on Wisconsin at the end of the game. They got their first 2 touchdowns and then they were done after that. I don't know what the path is, right? It's all about Nebraska's offense. I don't know. Cade, thanks for the $10 super chat. It feels so much better to hear you talk more level-headed. I just left another person's live stream. He's delusional. Frustrated, but haven't lost hope. Hey, I hope you don't lose hope. Look, this season, whether it's a wash or not, Tighten Up says it best. Same story every game. We looked outmatched against most Big Ten teams. Let's see what Matt Rule had to say. So I haven't listened to his presser, but I did read the notes. So he said, obviously disappointed, familiar feeling. What? Driving the ball just like 2 games ago against UCLA with a chance to win on the line and can't get it done? Yeah, feels freaking familiar. Credit to USC, okay. Credit to Dana to come in after a week and be put in those situations immediately. Yeah, positive so far, I agree. Thought we kicked the ball well. Okay, that is a plus. Nebraska drained 2 field goals. They had a good punt. They only had a couple good punts. There were a couple where I was like, wow, that dude's got a leg. So, kicking game, I'm happy with. Isn't like the old Big Ten West. The best part about that comment is Matt Rule knew that before today. And so he went and hired an offensive coordinator who hopefully can help them find a way to evolve in the new landscape of college football. An offensive coordinator who can make them effective as a passing team. And although we're not going to feel the immediate impact of Dana Holgorsen this season, I am extremely excited about the option or the prospects of him coming back next year. And if he is back, seeing what he can turn the offense into. So I will say at least Rule's ahead of the curve on that note. And he isn't going to sit and try and do the same things that aren't working. This one, I knew the answer to this already. He says when they called that timeout in the 4th quarter, they had planned to fake it, but they didn't get the look they wanted. That was obvious. They came out, it was 4th and 2. USC was prepared to stop it, so Nebraska ended up calling the timeout. What Dana has done is amazing in such a short period of time. Yeah, I thought the play calling today was much better. I don't know how you guys felt about it. Obviously, I watched it from a different perspective and different lens than a lot of you did since I wasn't seeing it on TV. I'll go back and watch it tomorrow to see what it looked like. But to me, the play calls looked better, and it was not even just about the play calls. There were some. Janiron Bonner had 2 screen passes that were fantastic, and I thought, man, what a great way to run a screen, and the receivers blocked better on those plays. What a great way, and it looked a lot better than what's our man Satterfield was doing. So I thought that was improved. And I just like the pace he was going at. I like that he was switching up between the runs and the pass. If the runs were working, he continued to run. So that was all a positive. Um, Talked up Janiron Bonner. Have to find ways to win against man coverage. My God, on both sides of the ball. Man coverage against multiple guys at USC, and they got just dogged. They had no shot. The corners were getting beat. And it wasn't like USC's QB was throwing these amazing perfect passes. Their receivers were just getting after it. In Nebraska's, it doesn't seem like they have that same strength, I guess. I don't know what the right word is. They don't have that in them. The other thing is are Raiola's balls changing? Like, did he look? That's so weird to say that. When Raiola passed it at the beginning of the year, he fired them out. They looked like NFL throws. Some of them felt like ducks today. They just felt like lobs. They feel a little softer. Is he giving his receiver the best chance to get the ball when the defensive back can go and just kind of get in position because the ball's not coming as fast and he has time to wait? Whereas if the ball's coming fast, the DB's gonna have to, make a quicker decision and won't be able to set himself up right. I don't know. I don't know if you guys see that, but that's something I felt. It doesn't look like he's got the same, I guess, zip is what we'll call it. Does Raiola have less zip on the ball? Biggest thing Dana saw when he came in this week, needing to change or needing to get the ball out of the QB's hands quicker. Okay, well, that was the number one thing I think every single person on the planet knew. Dylan was not going to succeed as a passer with the current state of the offensive line if he couldn't get the ball out immediately. So today, he definitely got it out quicker. They were a lot shorter throws. I liked it, but you can't win the game with checkdowns. You can't. You have to get the ball downfield, and Nebraska never got it downfield. Was it a play calling issue? Is it a receiver issue? And we're not going to see any change in that until next season. That's where I'm honestly concerned. Lots of opportunities to make more plays that we gave away. You think. This game meant a lot to Sierra Wright. Happy for him. Yeah, Sierra was. So I was on the USC sideline. He was on the USC sideline, going back and forth with those guys the entire game. And he obviously played really well. There was one tackle he missed that was like, actually, there's one that Tommy missed as well. Tommy and Sierra both had these kind of weak effort tackles, and I was like, those two things I saw where I was like, man, a little bit more effort, and I would have been a little bit happier to see it, but whatever. It's the defense did what they could. They're playing against a Lincoln Riley offense, and you're going to give up yards to guys like that, especially when you have all those receivers and a stud running back like Woody Marks. The guys worked their tails off the past 2 weeks leading up to this. The challenge was to do it on game day. Thought the guys competed. A lot to build on. Final note right there. That's the key, right? A lot to build on. So we're all excited. We're all pumped up. And we're all extremely ambitious about now, right? Rule is still a coach who is here for the build. He's here for the long term. And as bad as we want to win today, he wants to win, next year and the year after. And this year is kind of the foundation. This year is a building block, just like last season was. It's not frustrating to hear that because I don't even want to say it's reassuring, but we know that he's sticking to a plan. We know that he came here with a plan to recruit his guys, to build the line of scrimmage, which Scott Frost had not done, to find people who fit into his system. And slowly but surely it's working. They're getting better, but they're still a long ways away from being competitive in the Big Ten. And I think that's the most frustrating thing that we're seeing right now as fans. They're still losing to teams that we don't feel like they should lose to. Jim, thank you for the 246. Where is Nelson? We don't play him. He will portal. Yeah, he's not going to portal. I'm pretty certain about that. I was a little nervous before, but don't worry about Nelson. He's a freshman, and there are a lot of freshmen who want opportunities to play. And I think Dana's going to figure out who deserves the opportunity, I think he's going to figure out who gives them the best chance to win. And some guys just have to get developed. So I don't know what's going to happen with him for the rest of the season, like where he fits into the offense. But, I'm kind of looking at who they've got, at least in that room now with Dana Holgerson, and hoping he just makes the best decisions for personnel, right? Chang, thank you for the 75, Taiwan. Same question I ask again and again when we get out of this nightmare. Nebraska wastes 5-star QB and fails to develop him. Anyway, 2 games left, still have hope. I'm telling you, I don't think This year, 100% feels like we wasted some time this year. But I don't believe Raiola came with a 1-year plan. I believe he came here with a 2-year plan. And so long as Nebraska goes out and gets an OC, which I feel like they did, who's going to help him develop, Dylan's going to stay. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens this offseason. It's going to be interesting to see what improvements he makes. But I think the experiences and the learning lessons gained after his freshman season, I mean, he's played in literally every game. I think it's going to do him wonders for the rest of his career. Now, don't know what his ceiling is. Don't know how this is all going to pan out. He's still got some issues to correct and work on. But how much of that has to do with the previous coach who was, kind of guiding him and the previous system, at least the play calls, that weren't doing him as many favors, So I think that's more of a question right now than we have a definitive answer. And we're just looking forward and knowing how that's going to turn out because Dylan Raiola is what this team is building around, right? You live and die by him right now. And that's why today I said in the beginning of this video, you lost on your main playmaker. He didn't make the plays when he needed to. And he had crucial errors when you couldn't afford them. That interception, I'm telling you, that changed the game. Nebraska had two huge turnovers and forced 2 huge turnovers. And when Dylan gave one back, it can't afford that. Nebraska's supposed to be the team who plays sound, discipline, isn't as aggressive, That Dylan interception really hurt him. And it wasn't like it was some lucky interception. It wasn't like the Illinois game. It wasn't something that slipped through a receiver's hands. It was your guy is covered. There's a corner underneath. And if you throw this ball, it is a pick. Still threw it. How much of it's just him getting jittery? I don't know. How much of it's just him not seeing guys? Some people claim we don't see Raiola making the right reads. I don't know. I don't know what he's seeing. Nebraska Edits, thank you for the $20 super chat. What happened to Jalen Lloyd? He was a stud deep shot last year, and now he's never on the field. Don't know the answer to that. I mean, it's another deal where we're like, okay, well, he's a personnel fit. Who does he not play over? And right now, he's not been playing over Isaiah Nayor. Then he came in today, had a great catch on the sideline, put Nebraska in position to have that final shot at a touchdown on whatever it was in 13. Obviously, turned into whatever it was in 19, or 15, or no, it was 13 to 18. Sorry, my math. Anyway, I would love to see more Jalen Lloyd, and I assume they're going to get more out of him. But I don't know. I don't know what happened. MD, thank you for the $20 super chat. If you have a comment in here, I'll respond to it, but I appreciate the support. Joel, thank you for being a member. Thank you for the $20. I agree, Connor. Building's where we're at. After the games, the players all talked with a lot more enthusiasm and positivity than the last few weeks. That's a good sign. I haven't listened to anything from the players yet, so I'll have to see what they said. But, here's the thing. Go back to what I said 2 minutes ago. Matt Rule has a plan to build, okay? Unfortunately, it's a slower process than we all would like. You see coaches around the country having more immediate success than Nebraska's having, and we're like, damn, why can't Nebraska have an equal level? Okay. You kind of got to put that on the back burner because we want to see what Rule can do if he sticks to his plan. You don't want him to get out of character, get desperate, and then to just say, you know what? We're done with this rebuild talk, and we're going to go hit the portal super hard and be like Colorado or be like Indiana or whatever. And he couldn't even do that if he wanted to. Those are 2 super unique situations, case by case, right? Rule didn't have that opportunity. Okay. Nebraska got Dawson Merritt this week. Michael Terry still looks like he's an option, a 5-star receiver. He's still an option to come here next year. This is a building process, but they're landing big-time talent. And if they get to next season and they have a better scheme and a better offensive play caller and the defense continues to perform at a high level, the defense, I don't think I'm ever going to expect this defense to be top 5 until they have the talent that matches up with what a top 5 defense would look like, right? The problem with talking about the defense is we're always sold this grandiose defense, the top 15 unit in America and shit. Okay, well, let's temper that because that's not realistic to what this is. This is a top 30 defense, top 40 defense, and yeah, when they go and play against other top 40 offenses, they're going to give up some yards, but they're going to always keep you in games. And again, they were in the game the entire day. The defense did enough. So Nebraska's got to build on their defense. They've got to build on this offense. I think the defense is going to be just enough to consistently get them over the edge for the next few years with Matt Rule. And it's really going to come down to what offensive talent can they get in here, what linemen can they develop, and at what point will we see Rule's plan come to fruition, you know? Dash Camera, thank you for the $10 super chat. Thanks for being a member for 2 years. The 2 consecutive passes to the sideline to slow players with no blockers behind the line of scrimmage, both resulting in tackles for loss, showed a lot of brilliance. I don't remember what passes those were. I do know there were some plays from behind the line of scrimmage that frustrated me. But, yeah, there are play calls that, where players don't execute on their assignment and you're going to lose. So Dana's going to have play calls just like Sat did, where you're going to look and say, what the hell was that? But how much of that is Dana didn't draw it up the right way versus the players didn't hit their right block and then it got stuff for a loss, So you can assume whatever you want about the play, but you've got to really understand there's 2 sides to it. 2 people have to be involved in this. The coach who calls it, the player who executes it. So I'm hesitant to jump down guys' throats. You know what I mean? Cross Cinema says, stop, Connor, stop. Be real. Not in a fantasy world. What have I said that's fantasy at all during this whole chat, Cross? Just one thing I've said that's fantasy. Logan, thank you for the $2 super chat. What positions do we target in the portal? That's a video coming up, huh? That's a video we're going to have to talk about. We're going to target offensive linemen, defensive linemen, linebacker, DB, wide receiver, at least 1 wide receiver, if not 2. I think those are the main ones. Nebraska edits. Did we talk about this one already? No, we didn't. Thank you for the $10 super chat. Do you think Satterfield ruined Raiola and he's just in his head too much? And that's why he didn't think to throw it to Banks when he was wide open in the end zone. I don't know. I would assume there is some blame that has to be shouldered by Satterfield in terms of Raiola's development. 100% there is, because you're directly working with him all the time to build out that offense. I'm hesitant to say that Raiola's, I don't want to call it a downfall, right? But his progress came to a screeching halt. There was like this day when you knew, I think it might have been the Rutgers game, and it was like, whoa, we just ran into a brick wall. Was that a confidence thing? Was it an injury thing? Was it Satterfield didn't put him in the right positions? I don't know. But something about this season just has him off. And I'm hoping that they can rekindle the spark within over an off season and working with a really spectacular offensive coordinator in Dana Holgerson. That's the hope, right? I didn't actually see that Banks was wide open in the end zone. It's hard to notice those things when you're not watching on TV. But if that's true, that's really, really frustrating. The one I noticed about Banks is this. I've got this on my screen. Just, again, I don't blame losses on refs, okay? Because there were multiple times where Nebraska could have won that game. There were 2 picks they didn't take advantage of, and Nebraska then let those 2 should have been picks go for touchdowns, right? So that was 14 points right there. But this right here is just, the video showed this guy right here, I think it's number 17, hanging on Banks. And it's like, really? We didn't get any love at the end there? Charles says, wouldn't be surprised if he transfers after his sophomore season. He's 100% behind schedule. Talking about Raiola. I think you guys have to realize the situation at hand. And I think a lot of the players and the team has bought into the idea that this is a rebuild and that, yes, this has been a shitty season and we're losing. But they're not worried about this season. They're building for the future and they're trying to improve and they're trying to recruit the right guys so that they can continue to get better. I'm not that worried about much attrition. Yeah, I just don't think you're going to see a bunch of starters leave. I'm actually fairly confident in that. The team expected a lot more than they're getting, but flushing out the one guy that I don't think that the players got along with Satterfield. Not that they didn't get along with him, but that they didn't agree with all the play calls, right? And I think that they were frustrated and they wanted to change. Now that they've gotten that change, they're willing to buy in and they're willing to kind of trust this process. So the whole transfer talk to me is a little bit ridiculous. And keep in mind, I've talked to people, and it doesn't sound like there's a bunch of guys getting into the portal. It doesn't sound like that. I could be wrong. We'll see at the end of the year. Evan, thank you for being a member. Thank you for the $10 super chat. I can understand the impatience when we see Colorado and Indiana having successful seasons. If we don't make a bowl, how much more grace does this staff deserve? I love this team, but it's getting hard. I hate questions like this because you force me to answer like something I hate. It's negative for me to think about, But okay, realistically, fine, Evan, fine. How much grace do they deserve? Matt Rule deserves next season, and Matt Rule deserves part of 2025, 2026. If you give him 3.5 years, that would mean he needs to start to win next year, and he needs to get to 7. And if he doesn't, he gets to 6. Okay, what are you gonna do the next year? And then you got 3 games. And if he's not looking like they're gonna light it up after 3 games, we're in for another situation where it's like, okay, well, we kind of know, kind of like the Frost situation. It's just not gonna work out. That's kind of the grace period. So they're with Rule right now for the whole nother year. I don't believe there will be hot seat talk next year. If you get to the end of next year and things still aren't looking up, then the hot seat talk kicks in. But he's got a big buyout. He's got a lot of money. So there's frustrations for all of us. I hope that the team isn't feeling what we're feeling, which is like there is no hope, right? The whole narrative of the Nebraska fan base is F everything. There is no hope. Go Big Red. I hope that's not what's going on within the locker room, because that's what used to happen within the locker room. That's how they felt before Rule got there. I think that they are a little bit more optimistic and positive than we are. Think about this. A lot of young guys, a lot of underclassmen, a lot of true freshmen playing. So those guys know, hey, we're in our first season. We're going to get bigger, faster, stronger, smarter, have more film to study. We're going to be better as time goes on. So just give us time to develop. That's how they're thinking about it. And I know that's how Raiola's thinking about it. And Raiola's like, let me get some more playmakers, Doug, thank you for being a member. Thank you for the $10 super chat. He says, I'm starting to feel that Raiola has lost his touch. I think we should utilize Heinrich Haarberg more. I hope he can rebound and get his confidence and touch back. I really hope we have enough to win one more. The interesting thing is, as much as I talk about how this was the best chance to win, and I'm actually concerned about the next 2 games, Nebraska does have a chance to win either the next 2. Neither of those teams are that much better. They could win 6, and it wouldn't surprise me. It also wouldn't surprise me if they lost out, right? It's so interesting how good and bad this team can play at any given time, and how good and bad their opponents can play at any given time. Such an average schedule. Lost his touch might be the word I was looking for earlier in this video when I was talking about the zip on the ball. There's something up. And yeah, I don't think you can bench him. I don't think it would make sense to bench him. I think that incorporating Haarberg today was fun. It was cute. And I liked the 15-yard run he had for a first down, right? I think that was the 4th quarter, yeah? I don't know. Regardless, you're not benching Raiola. You're trying to play him to get better. You're playing him to get into a position where he can go lead your team. You're playing a guy who has the ceiling that You're playing a guy who has the ceiling that other quarterbacks around the country don't have. The upside with Dylan is you have a generational arm who can run around and escape like Mahomes can and deliver the ball into tight spaces. We saw a couple plays where he did that today. There was one, I think it was to Banks, and Banks had 3 guys all around him. Dylan fired it in for a first down. It was awesome. Okay, those plays are few and far between. Yes, I know. But that upside is there. And because the upside is there, you have to play him. And you have to keep working him and keep getting him better. So no, I don't think you bench him. No, I don't think you go a different direction. It's all in Raiola. Yes, this is what you signed up for. You signed up for the good, you signed up for the bad, and you hope for the great, right? This is what we all felt. We all felt like, man, even if Dylan comes here and he's average, at least they're taking a shot with a guy who has this potential and this upside that most other quarterbacks don't have. Judy. Hi, Judy. I hope you had a good day today. Thanks for being a member, and thank you for the $2 super chat. She said Dylan got worse after the QB hire. So she's saying that Glenn Thomas might have been an impact. And, he might have been. I don't know what the vibe is or the feel is around Glenn Thomas. Obviously, they're moving on from Marcus Satterfield at the end of this season. But I don't know what the outlook is for Glenn Thomas. Yeah, interesting. I mean, he is someone you got to point to. He's with Dylan all the time, right? McWilliams says Dylan cannot escape. Dylan can escape. Dylan can. Dylan has shown multiple times where he could. I still think that he has a lot of potential that you guys are dismissing. Dylan has the potential to. Whether or not he does it consistently, I hear you, but he has the potential to move around. I'm reading this one comment from Cross. This is so stupid. I'm literally coming. Okay, Cross says, go look at all the freshmen that started for Nebraska and had no trouble dominating from snap one all the way to the draft. All the freshmen that started for Nebraska and had no trouble dominating from snap one all the way to the draft. How many true freshmen have come into Nebraska and been dominant since they're true? Or how many people have come to Nebraska and been dominant since they're true freshmen and gone to the NFL? How many? First off, how many quarterbacks then? Dylan has no excuse, but Connor will make excuses for him. I've talked about Dylan's issues the entire video. I led the video with this loss falls on Dylan Raiola's shoulders. Just the nonsense from some people. By the way, really quick, here, Jordan says, LMFAO, we are trash and ran all over you. I'm assuming Jordan's a USC fan, talking about how USC ran all over Nebraska. USC's run game is awesome, and Woody Marks is legit as a running back. That was what they had to do. It worked. Nebraska's defense, they were out of position in some spots, and they just got dominated, physically manhandled. So shout out to USC. I know I've been bashing Nebraska this entire time. Props to USC, though. They did play a really good game. This was one of USC's best games in the last 5 weeks. Going back to what I said about Cross, because that was just a nonsense comment. So I was at the USC game today. It felt like a Nebraska home game, first off. Everywhere I went, there were tons of Nebraska fans. I met tons of people, tons of subscribers from our channel. It felt like I was in Lincoln. It felt exactly the same as being in Lincoln. And people are so cool and so nice. And a lot of people who are big tippers and donors to the show, and people who've obviously shared it and been here for a long time with us. And I just want to say really quick, if I met you today or if I didn't meet you today, I appreciate you guys so much for supporting the channel. And it's cool because the vibe today wasn't just like, oh, you're the guy on YouTube. You're Connor. They knew all my lines, all the things I've talked about. They remembered my score predictions. It was clearly people who watch the content and aren't just like casual. It's not like, oh, because I've had that happen where it's like, oh, you do YouTube, da da da. It was today. Oh, Connor, I want a picture, blah blah blah. There's a guy sitting behind me, like 3 rows up, and he jumped down to come and grab a picture with me. So that was cool. Doug, thank you for being a member. Thank you for the $10 super chat. To be clear, I say touch in regards to put the ball where it's needed. That's what I was talking about with Zip. That's what I was trying to get to as well. So I agree with you, Doug. I don't think we should bench him, but have an 80-20 with Heinrich. Raiola is still our best shot. Utilize players that are hot GBR. Yeah, I don't know how much you can run Harburg, how much you can put him in there that doesn't throw off rhythm, right? I don't know. I'm not a offensive specialist. I'm not our man Daniel Holgerson. I'm sure he'll figure it out. He did put him in more than Satterfield has been, though. They put Harburg in twice today. So if he continues to go in consistently, then yeah, I mean, I'm optimistic. I like Harburg, but I don't know. Right now, it's about getting Dylan Raiola developed. Here's the problem. I'm trying to think of, like, I want to give you 3 takeaways before I get off here. Like 3 things that you can look to where we're like, okay, what can Dana do this week that can potentially give Nebraska a chance to win their next game? And off the top of my head, without watching any of what happened today, I'm like, okay, got to get Dylan to be better in the downfield passing game, better with his reads, right? Today, he did a great job at getting Dylan to get the ball out quickly. That was a win. So today, improvement, getting the ball out quick. Not as good, getting the ball downfield. Number 2, I felt like the run game was good today. So I don't think you do anything differently with the run game. But is there a way now, we're talking about Harburg, is there a way to kind of take the offense to the next level and put some misdirection shit in there with the quarterbacks or with people who players aren't already thinking about. Like before, you had misdirection with Janiron Bonner and Ja'Cory Barney. Well, Ja'Cory Barney kind of got old. People started to figure out the Ja'Cory Barney thing. So then they put in Janiron Bonner. He had like that little reverse underneath in a touchdown run against, I think it was Rutgers. So is there a way to now include Harbergen on that, right? Like what could they do that's a new wrinkle? We need something fresh and something new that these teams can't scheme for, because it feels like you're seeing the same things over and over, and now these defenses are kind of keen in on it and they know how to stop it. From a defensive perspective, they've got to win their one-on-ones, right? They got to win. And I think, yeah, this is the best receiving core of these next two teams that they're going to face. So I'm not that worried about the receivers they're going to go up against. I think that these DBs, they've been decent all year. The pass game, or the pass defense in Nebraska has been a little bit above average, and they've made plays in a few moments. But the run D and the pressure that they've gotten really helps the defensive backs to be more successful. So I'd say those are kind of my three things. New wrinkles, downfield pass game, one-on-ones for the DBs. Got to win those. Today, that's what killed Nebraska. Quentin, thank you for the $2 super chat. I appreciate the support. I saw one more I wanted to respond to. Gavin, thank you for the $2. He says we need a running back like USC has. He's such a stud. Yeah, like I said, Woody Marks, man, that guy was on fire today. Unfortunately, Nebraska's still developing some of their younger guys. Emmett Johnson and Dante Dowdell, both underclassmen. Woody Marks a senior. Totally different, right? Those guys could develop into something. People were really impressed with Emmett Johnson today. USC fans kept talking about him. So, yeah, man, it's tough. But I'll be back this week with another video. I appreciate you guys all for tapping in. And it's tough. It's a really tough spot being 5-5 and not knowing what the future holds. But we're all hoping for a bowl game. And no matter what, Matt Rule is going to build this team his way. And as long as he has the success he's had in the past, I feel pretty good. It's just a longer process than we all had hoped for. It takes longer than a lot of people are willing to wait. So this is what it is. Gavin, thank you for the sign-off $2 super chat. And I'll see you guys on Monday. But with all that, thank you for being here, and I will see you in the next one. Go Big Red.